You're probably nervous about retirement because you've never retired before. In this video, I'm going to show you the 5 steps you need to take to help you make great retirement decisions. You've spent the last 30 or 40 years saving and investing, making mistakes, and learning how to get better at growing your retirement accounts. But when you get to retirement, you're often faced with quick deadlines, forms you need to sign, and decisions you've never faced before. That's why it's important to have a process so you get the most out of your one shot at getting retirement correct. These are the 5 steps you need to take with your retirement plan. The first step when you're putting together your retirement income plan is to figure out how much you're going to spend in retirement. That's really what you're solving for. It's about when are you going to retire. It's also about how much are you going to take out in retirement. And there's really 2 things to keep in mind. When you're trying to decide how much can I take out in retirement or how much do I need in retirement, you might not know what's that number. You often see things that suggest you should take out 70 to 80% of your retirement income, 70 to 80% of your pre-retirement income. Or you might build out a budget. I think both of those are not as easy as just taking a look at what you're spending already. The best way to do that when you're trying to figure out how much do I need in retirement is to take a look at your take-home pay. Chances are pretty good that you're spending your take-home pay. When it shows up in your checking account, you're spending that. The thing to keep in mind with your take-home pay is that they've already taken out your taxes and your health insurance. So when you're building out your spending plan in retirement, you need to add on your taxes and add on your health insurance account. And it's really nice to have all 3 of those, your spending, your taxes, and your health insurance, as separate line items when you're planning out your retirement, because you can control your taxes quite often in retirement, and your taxes will change in retirement. Your health insurance is likely to change in retirement, especially once you turn 65. So all 3 of these can go in as separate line items when you're planning out your retirement. Now, another piece of your spending is not just how much, but also the when part of your retirement. I would encourage you to plan out retiring 3 years before you planned on. When you plan out your retirement and you ask a 55-year-old, when are you going to retire? They would often say 65. But go ask that 65-year-old, when did you retire? And they're most likely going to tell you 62. The studies show that you are very likely to retire before you planned on it. You're likely to retire 2 or 3 years before you plan on. So as you're getting ready for your retirement and you're planning this all out, I would encourage you, be ready, have your accounts the way they need to be 3 years early when you're getting ready for retirement. Now the second part after spending, figuring out how much you're going to spend in retirement, is figuring out how much you're going to make in retirement. Just because you stopped working doesn't mean that you stop making money. You'll be making money from Social Security. You might have 2 Social Securities. You'll be making money from pension, perhaps. There's often ways that you're making money in retirement and maximizing, getting the most out of your lifetime income when it comes to Social Securities and pensions is a great next step to figure out how are you going to meet all those different spending goals that you have. So focus next on how much you're going to make in retirement and how do you get the most out of your retirement income. The third step is to figure out how much are you going to keep in retirement. When you make income, whether it's Social Security or your pension or your investments, you're going to pay most likely taxes. And how you plan out your taxes is a big part of your retirement planning. How much you get to keep is a big help. And you'll have more control over your retirement taxes than you did before you retired. Think of a couple of different areas here. You might have traditional money, Roth IRA money, non-IRA investments, and savings account money. Those are 4 different types of income, and depending on which one you take the money from, that's 4 different types and ways that you could get taxed on it. Or think of another bit of control you have, and that's the timing on your taxes. If you take money out in December or you take money out in January, that's 2 different tax years, likely 2 different tax situations. Plan out your retirement, not just how much you're going to spend and what are you going to do with your investments, but also how can you keep more of your retirement income by paying less on your retirement taxes, and focus on lowering your lifetime tax bill, not just last year's tax bill or this year's tax bill. You'll notice when we talk about the first 3 steps, these are things that you can quite often control. And you'll notice we haven't even talked about investments yet. That's where we get to step 4, which is your investments. And the key to your investments is deciding how much short-term money you want out of the market, how much long-term money you want in the market. You cannot control what the stock market's going to do, but you can control things that you can control. You can decide how much short and long-term money you have. When you're investing in the long term, you can control how much risk you take. And if you've diversified, you can control if you rebalance. A big key part of your retirement planning is to take control of the things you can't control and don't focus on the things you can't control. Often, when you're looking at your retirement or you're talking to a financial advisor, you might look at the investment side of it first, and yet the investment side is something you can't control. I'd encourage you to focus on the areas that you can control. Focus on those first before you start looking at the next piece, which number 4 is going to be your investments. The 5th part of the 5-step retirement income process is to figure out what you leave behind. Sometimes you leave behind money, sometimes you leave behind some bills. And when you're planning out your retirement, it's wonderful to have a great income and see your investments growing. And yet we know that there's often different risks to retirement. There's a risk that you die too soon and you leave your spouse behind with not enough income. There's a risk that you live longer than you expected and perhaps you don't have enough income. Or the longer you live, usually the worse your health gets and the higher your healthcare costs get. So planning out and seeing how am I protecting myself and my family against the risks of retirement is a big key part of that process. And of course, hopefully everything works out well. You've made all the income you've ever wanted and you've got money left over. Then you need to focus on the planning side. What are the documents and the ways that the money is going to go out to your kids, your family, your beneficiaries, the people you want to leave money for? When you're facing your retirement and you've never faced it before, it's good to use a process. Follow this 5-step retirement plan of focusing first on how much do you spend and when do you need it. And then focus on how do you make more from the incomes that you have available. How do you keep more of your income by lowering your lifetime tax bill? And then deciding with your investments, how much is short term, how much is long term, and finally taking a look at what you're leaving behind on the protection part of the risks that are out there and the planning part for the estate documents and so forth. I've developed this process over the last 20 years of being a retirement-focused financial advisor. And I've put together 5 full videos on how to approach each step in detail. Go to 5stepretirementplan.com. You can use the number or spell it out. You'll get there either way. Go to 5stepretirementplan.com to get those videos delivered straight to your email inbox.